big crowd, and he preached a sermon, and there were 40 people who raised their hands, and then he told them, and I preached that sermon, and there were tons of people raising their hand. They really want to make it look real good. Well, that isn't what was happening here. Everything was genuine, absolutely genuine. Verse 42, Acts 2. And they continued steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread, and in prayers. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles. And all that believed were together and had all things in common. We've read about that a little bit. What did that mean? They became a situation where nobody owned any private land anymore. But that's not really what God is teaching. That's the earthly story, the heavenly meaning, and they had everything in common. They had one Lord, one faith, one baptism. They were all true believers. At that moment, what we read here in Ezekiel chapter 16 came to pass, where we read in verse 23, neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, and so on. And I will be their God. So is that the promise being fulfilled? The answer is no. No, that can't be. Because very shortly thereafter, even before the Bible was completed, remember in Galatians chapter 1, they're already following another gospel. And amongst the 7 churches recorded in Revelation 2 and 3, they all have their own ideas. Some are so lukewarm they're ready to be vomited out of God's mouth, others, and so on. In other words, that was not the time when this happened. Well, let's go through the church age. Right at the very beginning, and the earliest writers, we read about men like Origen or Jerome, Jerome, incidentally, was the authority that coined the idea, Lucifer. He was a noted authority in the Roman Catholic Church. But right away there was contention. They were fighting among themselves about this doctrine and that doctrine, and then finally we get to the Reformation. Now things are going to be cleared up because everybody's got the Bible now. Because in the time of the Reformation, the printing press was invented about that time, and so they could start churning out the Bible in different languages. And what would happen? Well, you have Lutherans, and you have Reformed people, and Presbyterian, and then very shortly you get Methodist and Baptist, and so on and so on. There is no one people at all. There's not one nation in the land. There's not two. There's 100 or 200 or 300, you name it, that all have different ideas. What God is prophesying here in Ezekiel 37 had not come to pass. Well, then, when will it come to pass? Neither, verse 23, neither, so that there's one nation, one spiritual nation, neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols or with their detestable things. I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I am their God. And David my servant shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd. They shall all walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. and they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, Jehovah, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. When did that happen? Or when is it going to happen? What is God talking about? We'll talk about that next week. That's for our next lesson.